Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we'll be discussing the future of Bitcoin. We'll be looking at its use case study and try to give an estimate on the valuation so you can use it to invest in Bitcoin. Well, it's not a financial advice, so I'm saying that in this beginning of this video that this video is not meant to be as a financial advice, so don't take it as one. So, without further ado, let's get started. What is Bitcoin? Bitcoin is a peer-to-peer version of electronic cash that would allow online payments to be sent directly from one party to another without going through a financial institution. So, what it basically means is that Bitcoin eliminates the middlemen in between, that are the financial institutions or like the banks. So, why eliminate the middlemen? So as we know that every time we transact through a bank or after a few months or even annually, bank takes a charge from you for maintaining your transactions and doing them for you. So uh, and the second thing is that banks have been known to fail, and there's a lack of trust in the general public regarding the banks ever since the 2008 financial crisis. So, Bitcoin came to existence in 2009, and it was an answer to this problem. So, what it does, it is a proof of work based system, and its white paper proposes a system for electronic transactions without relying on the trust of a third middleman or a third person or a middleman, whatever. So, what it does is that it electronically maintains the ledger of transactions, and that is the proof of existence of that transaction. So if you want to know more about Bitcoin, you can find the link here, and you'll even find the presentation in the description, and you can refer to all the links from there. So let's jump into the use cases of Bitcoin. So what are some use cases of Bitcoin? So Bitcoin is by many considered as the modern day gold. It has found utility in investment portfolios and diversification options. So it is used by many now as an asset class, or it is just a store of value, just like gold. Seemingly having negative correlations just like gold has to other assets like bond equities and real estate. So we have seen that there's a pattern of negative correlation between Bitcoin and other assets, stocks and real estate, which tends to go down during inflation. But Bitcoin is inflation known to be inflation proof, but recently we have seen that this correlation has been seeing an exception during the 2021 and 2020 pandemic, coronavirus pandemic, whatever you call it. So Bitcoin has seen some kind of uh, correlation with the equities. So that might be an exception, and the historical data available for Bitcoin has not been very long, so one cannot predict the correlation exactly, but that's how the correlations have been till now. So what what else? So Bitcoin has seen 200% compounded annual growth rate, so in the last 10 years, which makes it a very good investments. So if you want to know more use cases, you can follow the link given below, and you'll find the some more use cases. So let's compare the return of Bitcoin to some other assets. So these are some other assets that have produced some kind of return. So in the past 10 years that we have taken as a benchmark. So Bitcoin has produced 196.72% of compounded annual growth rate, which is very high compared to any other investment that you might have done in the past 10 years. So we see that gold has produced 1.97%, S&P 500 has 11.22%, Nasdaq Composite has 16.94%, and US Treasury has 4.58%, and Tesla, which is a company that has seen a rapid growth in past 5 6 years, and especially the past 3 years, uh, it still has not been able to come even near to the returns given by Bitcoin. and then there's Amazon, which has produced 33.5% of annual growth rate, but still it remains very far from Bitcoin. So, which makes it a very impressive asset to invest in. So, here are some reasons to invest in Bitcoin. It has good historical returns over the last 10, 5, 3, and 1 year periods, which is very impressive. Um, it has seen growing adoption among people and governments. So recently, the government of El Salvador and one more Latin American country or European country, I don't remember, has adopted the Bitcoin, and it has distributed some Bitcoin to its citizens, and it is now now it holds the legal tender in the country, and even people have started to adopt Bitcoin. So what else? Uh, it has limited supply, which makes it anti-inflationary. So what it means is that every year our governments that have standard currencies, fiat currency, what it is called, produces some amount of currency, and when it's needed more, they print more, and when it's needed less, they just burn some currency. So that is how the currency supply is maintained by the government, and usually what it causes is inflation. So as more notes are printed, the value of other notes that are in supply gets lesser and lesser with the increase in the amount of fiat available in the market. So, but Bitcoin is not like that. Bitcoin has a limited amount of supply, which makes it anti-inflationary, because you cannot increase the amount of Bitcoin in the market. And what can happen is it can be only decrease. So it can go into negative inflation, but it will never go into positive inflation probably. Um, it has utility as a medium of exchange, even though I wouldn't agree on this completely, because Bitcoin still has a lot of improvements to be done. It still has a very high transaction fee, and it is still very rudimentary compared to other chains, other blockchains that have been developed, other cryptocurrencies that are available in the market right now. So I don't believe that it is entirely true that it is a medium of exchange, but it still is a medium of exchange. It can still be used as a currency. It is decentralized and it is unregulated. So what it means is that its supply or its control is not limited by the government. So one government or one person doesn't control it. It is controlled by many people, and it is um, not regulated. So basically, uh, again, that the government can't make rules about the cryptocurrency. At least right now they can't. um, it might happen that the entire government of the world just unite, like the United Nations, and they might decide to own the cryptocurrency, 51% of the cryptocurrency, and then they might start making rules for the ordinary people. But I don't see it happening, and so we don't need to worry about that. So moving on to the reasons to avoid Bitcoin. So what are some reasons to avoid Bitcoin? So Bitcoin has a very high transaction fee. So like I said, that Bitcoin has very high transaction fee, so it is not a very ideal medium of exchange for me. So it is very volatile. That is the second thing. Uh, so It is volatile because there's a lot of speculation about its price, because it is a relatively new asset, and I feel that the speculation and the volatility is justified, because I think it needs to be there to some extent, and it is a little problematic in the sense that if you are buying, suppose that you were to buy something of $30 and Bitcoin's price was $30,000, so you had to spend like 30 by 30,000 amount of Bitcoin. So that is like 1 by 1,000. So that is 0.001%, 0.001 coin. So uh, sorry, sorry, 0.0001 coin. So in that case, if there's a sudden volatility in the market and the price jumps to $40, so $40,000. So instead of $30, you end up paying $40 for the product that you were buying. So this volatility makes it very unreliable during the transactions. And third thing is that it requires some kind of technology to be there to be operated. So you cannot uh, just pull out a physical wallet and you operate a Bitcoin, or you cannot use a card, simply swipe a card and use a Bitcoin. I think you can now, but we'll have to wait for further development of technology and tools that allow easy use operation of Bitcoin. So let's move into the valuation of Bitcoin, which is the part that you everybody here has come and joined us. So here are some assumptions that we'll be taking to find the price of the Bitcoin, the ideal value of the Bitcoin. So first of all, the total supply of Bitcoin. So as we all know that the total supply of Bitcoin is limited to 21 million Bitcoins, and its current price is at $42,000 700, 42,700 dollars, and its current market cap is $814 billion, which is a lot, but it's not much compared to other markets. We'll discuss more on that ahead, but let's move on. Its all-time high price has been $64,400. Why am I screwing that up? I don't know. So, what class or category does it belong to? So, as we discussed earlier, that it is similar to gold and other assets. So, we'll put it in the asset category, which is something stored as an investment to the people, by the people. Sorry, I'm really screwing up a lot of things here. Just don't mind me. Whatever. Let's move on. Just ignore the shit that I do, and I just focus on the content that I'm putting out. So, what are similar assets to Bitcoin? Some similar assets to Bitcoin are gold, silver, and other metals, and like I said, equities and bonds and treasuries might be a good representation of an asset, and it might be something near to Bitcoin in future. But right now, Bitcoin has been massively destroying the returns produced by other assets. So it is an asset which is way beyond any other asset. So what are its characteristics? So it is the pioneer of cryptocurrencies. So what is a pioneer? Pioneer is something that happens at first. So it is the first cryptocurrency. It can be called the first cryptocurrency. I don't think any other existed before it. So it is the first cryptocurrency, and this is the advantage that the Bitcoin has, the first movers advantage over the cryptocurrency industry. So as I said that the Bitcoin is very close to gold. It is almost like gold because it is another store of value without any utility, uh, as compared to equities or bonds, which has some utility. But even gold has some utility, but again, most of the people hold gold because it has it is a safe asset. So what is cost of gold? What is the price? What is the valuation of gold? So gold per ton costs around 39 to 50 million dollars, and the global gold market is 12.5 trillion dollars. That is that is the gold in circulation right now, and there's $3 trillion that gold is still believed to be underground, not yet discovered, or not yet uncovered, excavated, or whatever mined. If we are to believe that Bitcoin is to reach even the 50% of value of gold, so we'll make this bold assumption that Bitcoin will replace 50% of all the gold in market. That is, it will control around $7.5 trillion of asset market. According to so let's see. According to McKinsey's report on assets, global assets grew from 440 trillion, approximately 30 times the GDP in 2000, the year 2000, to 1540 trillion in 2020, while the net, while the net worth of the entire assets grew by only 360 trillions, no, 350 trillion. It grew from 160 trillion to over 500 trillion. This figure includes real estate prices, equity market prices, exchange rates, natural resources, human resources, as well as capital and technologies. So this doesn't look very on value, on par with the, like, the net worth of the assets do not look on par with the value of global asset that is in circulation. So what it says is that there's a lot of speculation in the market. So coming on to the point that there's a lot of speculation in the 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 point of these this point the the point of the last point was that people say that there's a lot of speculation in Bitcoin, but it's not necessarily true because there's a lot of speculation in equities and other assets too. So I think that people need to cut some slack on the Bitcoin thing, Bitcoin being over speculated thing. Now moving on to the share of gold in the world. So gold comprises of 3.2% of the entire assets of the world. So as we read that there's 500 trillion of assets, and gold is 3.2% of that. So the assumption that we took that Bitcoin will be 50% of the entire gold supply, gold value. So that is around 1.6% of gold's value. That is 7.08 trillion, like I said. Uh, Current share of Bitcoin is 800 billion, like I mentioned earlier, and current price of Bitcoin is 42,400. But if we were to take into assumption that it will reach a market cap of 7.08 trillion, then every Bitcoin will be valued 334,000 according to my calculations, which is very, I believe that it's a very rational estimate, because there's a lot of people that have, lot of influential people that have predicted a lot more prices than this. But I feel that this price is a very safe assumption to assume about the price, about the value of the Bitcoin. Although this is a very optimistic and very, like I said, like I mentioned earlier, like, this is a very optimistic valuation of Bitcoin, but some investors and some um, the legend, even the some investors and some firms, including the legendary Peter Thiel, have predicted that the prices might go as high as 4 million, 5 million, and even more. The actual value may be very less, as the number of Bitcoin, like, Bitcoin has a lot of alternatives in the market right now. And I believe that these legendary investors and these influential investors, influential firms, and these powerful firms, whatever they are, they hold the value of Bitcoin to be so high because they don't understand the other cryptocurrencies that are in the supply right now. And most of them are being ignored by these firms, and they are just focused on the Bitcoin thing. So some coins that share the same features as Bitcoin. So there's Litecoin, which is a Bitcoin fork. There's Monero, which is traded as XMR in the market. There's Ripple. There's Dogecoin, which is a meme cryptocurrency that was started as a joke, as a mocking to crypto community, to the cryptocurrencies. So let's get some information about these alternatives of Bitcoin that we have. So there's Litecoin. Litecoin has supply of 84 million which is about 4 times of supply of Bitcoin. And then it has current price of $112, which is a lot. I won't make exact comments on that. It has market cap of 470 million. So what are the edges that it has over the Bitcoin? So it is cheaper than Bitcoin. It is faster than Bitcoin. So let's look at Monero. Monero has supply of 8.1 million, 18.1 million. It is the current supply, and it has the ability to print more as much as it wants. So it is like fiat, but still the supply has been limited because of the price, because minting a new Monero takes the price that it is currently trading on, I guess. And its market cap is 320 million, which is not very much as compared to the feature that it has. So what are its advantages? That it is secure, it is private, and it is even cheaper, and it is even faster than the Bitcoin. So moving on to the next cryptocurrency is Ripple. Ripple has a supply of 100 billion, which is a lot, but not much compared to the currency and the notes and the coins that we have in circulation right now. And there's a lot around the world. So even if we consider one country's amount of coins and notes that it has, still 100 billion is not much compared to that. So its current price is at 75 cents, 76 cents, whatever. I'll just round it off to 76 cents. Its market cap is $1 billion, which is about 800 times less than Bitcoin. But what are its advantages over Bitcoin? It is faster and it's cheaper. Then moving on to Dogecoin. Dogecoin has a supply of 132.6 billion, and the supply is not limited, and it keeps growing by 5 5 billion per year, I guess. And its current price is 0.153 cents, so 15 cents, and it's sorry, $0.153, not cents. It's 15 cents. So its current market cap is $20.3 billion, which is 40 times lesser than Bitcoin. And its advantages is that it is faster and it's cheaper than Bitcoin. So faster and cheaper is better, and it is considered to be pricier because you cannot have your cake and eat it too. You can, but let's see. But how pricier should it be? So users prefer cheaper, faster, and secure cryptocurrencies, and I believe that everything, not only cryptocurrencies, everything is what they want to be cheaper and faster and secure. So US dollar is the strongest currency in the world because it is the most liquefiable currency in the world, because US has the power, and similar arguments can be given about the coins here. So what I mean by this is that US currency is the reserve currency of the world. So even if you had $100 and you went to China, or you went to South Korea, even North Korea, and you went to the exchange and tried to exchange a dollar, you will find a dollar there. But if you went with a rupee or a peso or a Zimbabwean rand, I don't think that you'll find something like that there. So that's why it is most liquefiable currency in the world, because US has the power, and it has a help the power has helped establish dollar as the reserve currency of the world. But I believe that that is changing too, as China is slowly grasping the power onto the world. So it is coming into the power, whatever. So here are some estimated confirmations and estimated transaction time of some coins, which is, some of them are very good. The honorable mentions, like some that need to be mentioned, are Ripple, and there's Stellar Lumen, and then there's augur, economy, and gnosis. These are some really impressive coins with some really impressive transaction speeds. So let's try to evaluate things based on the logic that I just gave. So speed, uh, that is speed, and transaction time that is taken, cost, security, and supply. So um, how does the speed affect? So speed has a massive advantage over a coin. So transaction speed, for example, let's say if you had a coin, if you were transacting money, and if one transaction took 10 minutes and other took 2 days, which one will you prefer? Obviously the one that takes 10 minutes. So that's why speed has the advantage of that kind of advantage. And 2x is an estimation, but I believe that it might be a lower, a little higher than that, because people tend to move towards speed and other advantages that's there, and majority tends to be there, and minority is just stuck to whatever they have. So majority should be there, so it is should be more than 2x, but for now I'll take it as 2x. Then there's transaction cost and fees. So it is again a massive advantage over another coin, because if the suppose that somebody, I'll just give an example. Suppose that there's somebody who asks you for 50 rupees to bring something worth 100 rupees, and there's another guy that asks for 5 rupees to something worth 100 rupees. Which one will you go with? Obviously the one that asks for less money. So again, that majority tends to shift towards the one that has lower costs and lower transaction fees. So these two features are, I think they are complementary, but uh, we'll see, we'll find out. What we need to have is a good balance of both. Yeah, I guess. Then there's security. So security is a priority for some people, but it's not a priority for majority. So I would not declare it as a massive advantage over other coins. And there's supply. So supply is not something that affects something very much, because overall the everything that is there is incorporated in the market cap, and price of one coin or 10 coins doesn't matter, as long as the scale of the, as long as the scale is proper. Like if I were to withdraw 10 coins, and if I were to withdraw 100, 100 or 1000 coins, the transaction cost, if it stays linear with respect to the amount of transaction happening, I believe that it's something that the supply of the coin is something that does not affect the price or the valuation of the things at all. But if that happens, which doesn't, so I don't think that it needs further discussion. So let's move on to the relative benchmarking with respect to Bitcoin. So Litecoin has half the transaction time as Bitcoin. It takes 0.52% of the fees that Bitcoin takes, and it has 4 times more supply. And Monero has half the transaction time, 0.16% of the fees, and the same supply as Bitcoin. And there's Ripple, which has near instant transaction time, and it has 0.06% of fees as Bitcoin, and it has 4,700 times the supply. Dogecoin takes one third time as Bitcoin. It takes 5 times the fees of Bitcoin, 5% the times, 5% fees as compared to Bitcoin. Sorry, and it has 5,000 times more supply. So relative market cap estimates, these estimates are not based on some complex formula, or these are just based on some estimates. So according to me, the relative market cap of Litecoin should be 2.4 times market cap of Bitcoin, and of Monero should be 2.99 times the market cap of Bitcoin, and Ripple should be 4.49, and Doge should be 2.3x. So assuming these estimates, we move on and try to replace these entire asset class with the asset class of gold. Asset class gold, gold, basically gold. So value of gold is right now, like we discussed earlier, is 15.5 trillion, and value of Bitcoin is uh, one what is whatever is the market cap of Bitcoin, and of Litecoin, just like we just calculated, it is around 2.48 times the Bitcoin, and Monero is 2.99 times, Ripple is 4.49 times, and Dogecoin is 2.23 times. So value of gold is 13.19 Bitcoin's market cap. So estimated of Bitcoin's market cap according to that should be approx 1.17 trillion. So that makes the value of one coin to come out as $55,714, which is lower than the all-time high of Bitcoin. So that was one method to calculate the valuation of Bitcoin. We'll move on to the other methods that are there that can be used. So another one is the S curve adoption method. So what it says is that there's a normal distribution that's there, and what happens is that whenever something new comes around, especially in the technology field, the initial 5% of the people are the early adopters who get the things, or the get the services, or the products at lower prices, at a discounted prices, and the ones that come afterwards get it at a premium price. So let's discuss what we have here. So adoption of cryptocurrencies have escalated rapidly between 2019 and 2021. So as we see statistics of some countries, Nigeria had 28% of population that had Bitcoin, and now it has 42% of people that have Bitcoin. Thailand comes in with second, that has 23% people having Bitcoin, and now it has 31 people that has Bitcoin. And you can see that in this chart, in this table, the adoption of Bitcoin has grown rapidly between the last 3 years. It is said that it is following a normal curve of distribution of adoption. On curve distribution of adoption. So according to the statistical analysis and prediction, cryptocurrencies will have 90% adoption by 2030. So if it follows the S curve, it will have 90% of people having a cryptocurrency by 2030. Right now, it is said to be the perfect time because uh, S, the S curve starts to escalate around 28% of adoption, or the people when the early adopters have entered, when the early majority have entered, sorry. So right now we are at the part where the entire world has not entered the Bitcoin. The majority of the world is still to enter the Bitcoin or the cryptocurrency market, but it has begin the phase where the early majority have begun to start in. So uh, it is a very good time because first, the innovators and the early adopters are the ones that take the longest time to grow because there's a lot of uncertainty between the periods, and there's nobody has the idea when it will start to boom. But once the majority starts to come in, it is like a landslide, and the price just starts to become bigger and bigger. That was a metaphor, sorry. So the hype is increasing by the day, and Bitcoin has experienced several booms and several bursts during the past few years. The early adopters get a discount, like I said, and the ones that get in at last have to pay a premium. So that will. So current adoption is at 30%, and if adoption reaches 90%, most of them will be away from Bitcoin. It will still increases Bitcoin's market share. So what it means is basically that as people start to buy cryptocurrencies, I believe that most of them will not be buying Bitcoin because it is something that is very costly right now. It is, if we consider the fundamentals of other currency. So don't try to teach me, school me on the fact that whatever it is not costly enough. So it is said to be going up to 1 million if it continues to follow this S curve of adoption. So I wish it sees 1 million someday. So moving on to another model, that is mathematical model of prediction of Bitcoin's price. So here is a formula that is based on the time that Bitcoin has stayed in the market to predict the price of the Bitcoin basically. So what it says is that T by 693, which is a number that was chosen by Umanov. You can, if you want to check the logic behind the formula, you can check out the article by Lev Umanov, and I have given the link here, this right here. And so the formula goes on: T by 693 raised to 5.526 into 10 to power 0.998 raised to t into 2 sine absolute of sine. So whatever the formula is there, it's not a very, it might look complex, but it is not a very complex formula to understand. If you put in some efforts, and if you divide the formula and try to understand it that way, and then try to combine it, it will make sense to you. This model of prediction gives states that Bitcoin will stagnate around 100,000 forever for some time. That doesn't make sense, but it will stay. So it has been 4,846 days since Bitcoin was minted, and the predicted prices. So to my astonishment, I did not believe a mathematical model can predict price of Bitcoin, but this model has been able to predict to some extent the price of Bitcoin. So although these models are good, it fails to incorporate other factors such as growth, adoption, transaction, market sentiments. So, to know about what people are thinking about Bitcoin right now, I personally conducted a survey on LinkedIn, and as you see that there were not many votes that were casted, but I got some idea about what people think about Bitcoin. So as you can see that in majority, in both the polls, majority has voted towards the price being less than 100,000. So the majority still believes that the price is of the Bitcoin is very high. But some have dared to believe that Bitcoin will go around 2 lakh to 5 lakh dollars by the year 2025, and some even believe that it will still be there by 2030. So I'm not the only one who has tried to predict the price of Bitcoin. So here are some other models and other people that have tried to give a prediction about Bitcoin. So you can check about these valuation models more in the Bitcoin Miami 2022 conference. I haven't used them here because that would have made my content unoriginal. So let's just go over it. So there's Meltcalf law, there's Genven X, then there's scarcest asset on Earth model, and then there's Tom Lee's models. There's Mark Yusko's model, there's Mark Novgratz and Kevin O'Leary's models. So here are the prices that they have given using their models. So Brian Estes, like I said, is the one that who proposed the S-curve adoption model, said that the price of Bitcoin might hit $1 million. Mark Yusko, who believes that the price of Bitcoin will go 10x in the next 5 years, and then 10x from there in the next 5 years. And his prediction states predicts that Bitcoin will be worth $5 million in the next 10 years, which is insane. Kevin O'Leary believes that cryptocurrencies is a new sector and Bitcoin will be the one leading it, and the value of Bitcoin will go 300, 2000 in the coming years. Mike Novogratz, again, he believes that it will replace gold entirely and the value of the Bitcoin will go, one Bitcoin will go to $1 million. Then there's Metcalfe's law, which again produces the value based on the 90% adoption model. It says that the value of Bitcoin will be around $9.7 million, which is an insanely high valuation of Bitcoin. And then there's Van X model, which uh, which believe which use the which which replace the middlemen that are Visa and Mastercard cards with Bitcoin. So according to him, the value is 3,29,000 per coin. And then there's my prediction, which is around 334,000, like I said in my analysis earlier. And through polls, the value came out to be less than 100,000. So the average value, so what is the value of Bitcoin? So as we saw that even on calculating the valuation of Bitcoin, there's such a massive difference between one price and the another. So what should be the Bitcoin? So value of Bitcoin. So I believe that market, if it does not find a proper approach to evaluate the Bitcoin, it will go with the average value of all these as all these models that have been proposed, which comes out to be around $1 million. I still feel that this amount is ridiculous, but it might very well happen because at 8,000 I felt that Bitcoin at 50,000 or 60,000 is ridiculous, but it has happened, so anything can happen. But most likely it won't happen because I feel that Bitcoin has already primed and its popularity, and early investors are just too close in to see that new investors are not seeing. And for the valuation of Bitcoin, I feel that only time will tell. So that's it for today, guys. I believe that this presentation was of some use to you all. And if you felt that it was useful to you and you've learned something from it, I'd uh, urge you to just like and subscribe my channel. And that's it, guys. Thank you. Thank you for attending. Um, I have uh, again put some links here for you to refer if you'd like to, but I don't think you will. So, thank you, guys. Thank you.